We can start round two whenever you want me to play the video.
Hold on, let me get my glasses.
Oh,
Okay. I think I look better with the glasses. Yeah,
I, I,
I
I
look
like the
better.
sexy librarian.
Thank you. So this one is the we'll do Tyra Banks.
And I got both videos of Tyra Banks. I was actually trying. I'm downloading the videos of Jasmine, so we can do Jasmine for the third and final
Yeah.
one. Okay, cool. So we can do Tyra. So I'll get ready to do the intro, and then you can introduce Tyra. And I got the video with Jay, and then I got the interview with her fellow top model judge. So I got both of
Mhm.
those, but it's the same show. Ready? Give it a
Yes.
start.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? So, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I am your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some exciting topics for you tonight. And I just want to say happy Black History Month. Although we celebrate Black History 25/7, 35/8, 365/9, it is Black History Month. Although they don't want to celebrate us, we're going to continue to celebrate ourselves. And with that being said, let's go ahead and bring out my great producer, Mark Lee.
How are you doing? All kinds of amazing things happening in the world. We got all kinds of things happening. It was snowing not that long ago and everything, and people are still dealing with the impact of the snow, even though lately we've been having some lovely weather. It's been feeling almost like spring and summer like and everything
Mhm.
like that. But definitely a lot's going on in the world. February was a little confusing. It was like half cold, half not cold. So this whole couple of months have been definitely weird and all along those lines. But a lot's going on weather-wise. But I'm always glad to see you and your beautiful face because I know you've got all kinds of things happening over there in the DC area as well as the Louisiana area when you go back home and all along those lines. So always great things happening and always glad to have you here and to hear your great wisdom.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I don't know if you've been keeping up with what's going on in the hot topics or whatever, but Tyra Banks has been a hot topic. She had the show America's Next Top Model, and
Mhm.
so a little background on the show for those who are not familiar with the show is women who want to go tap into the modeling world who thought that they want to be models. Part of the show is you're getting judged on your looks, your body, your physique, your hair, pretty much your character, everything from under the sun. So a lot of people have been blaming Tyra for a lot of things. And so not long ago, Miss J, who basically taught Tyra how to walk, was on the Sherry Shepherd show and was saying that she hasn't reached out. He had a stroke and he is basically paralyzed. He couldn't talk at one point, but he's working his way back to get to the point where he can walk again. And he's like, he's going to walk again. And then, social media has been dragging Tyra, calling her, an unsavory person and things like that. But I'm totally against what they're saying about her because for the simple reason is you have a job. Being on that show was your job. So if you know that that's something that you were not willing to do and that you did not want to do, you shouldn't put yourself out there. And they were like, people were traumatized. You had trauma before you got to the show. You should have dealt with your personal trauma before you got there. If you knew you had self-esteem issues, why would you expose yourself to a place where you're being judged and when you're looked at, from head to the toe, from the rooter to the tutor? So do I sympathize with them? Yes. Do I feel sorry for them? No, because you knew exactly what you were getting into. You know, you thought that you were gonna make it big. You was gonna be this next supermodel. You were gonna be you know, a next Tyra Banks. You were gonna be a next Eva Garcelle. Or whatever her name, Marcel, sorry for messing up her name, or whatever, and it didn't work out. So now that it didn't work out for you, now you're talking about Tyra traumatized you. Tyra didn't traumatize you. That was your job. That's what you were on the show for. If you had personalized trauma, you should have went to go see a therapist before you got to the show, before you were exposing yourself, before you put yourself out there and things like that. And then they were trying to drag her for not going to see Miss J and things like that. But my thing is, when you work with people, that does not mean that they're your friends. I work with people every day that, you know, to be honest with you, Mark, I don't even know 85% of the people in my building. I don't even know their names. Okay. So, and I'm saying that to say this, just because I work with you does not mean that we are friends. We are colleagues. We have a working relationship. So if anything goes on in your personal life, I don't have a clue about it. I don't care what goes on in your personal life because we're not friends. We're not like that. And I'm not saying that that's happened with her and Miss J, but people got to understand, just because you work with a person does not mean that you are close friends. That does not mean that y'all talk on the weekend. That does not mean you see that person outside of work, because I know I don't see the people outside of work. I honestly don't want to talk to them while I'm at work, and I know I'm not going to talk to them while I'm at home. So, you know, if something happens, it happens. I hate it happened to you, but I'm not about to run to the hospital. I'm not about to be at your bedside as if it was one of my friends who I deeply care about. That's not going to happen. So, you know, I just feel like people need to understand the difference. Working relationships and, you know, friendships. You can have a working relationship and you can be cool with the person. You can go out to eat. You can do whatever. You know, just because you taught a person how to do something does not entitle you to their friendship. It does not entitle you to their time. It does not entitle you to anything. So, you know, they're over here dragging the black woman because, you know, that's what they do. They're going to drag the black woman for, you know, any and everything that's going on. She was the hostess. Yes, she came up with the idea, the concept of the show and things like that or whatever. But at the end of the day, the producers and the station ran the show. They were the ones that, you know, made the, who could stay and, you know, put the parameters out there and things like that or whatever. And again, you're on a modeling show. So if you didn't want to be judged based off of your looks and, you know, your hair and things like that, why would you sign up to be on this show? You know what I'm saying, Mark? And that's just like, for example, Survivor. There was this black woman on Survivor, and they told her that she had to eat bugs, and she was like, well, you got me all the way fucked up. I'm not about to do this, da-da-da. But this is the show. This is what you signed up for. This is what they do. So my thing is, if you already know that these people are doing this like that, why would you go to the show, and why would you try to change the show after you already know what they were doing? When we were on, when I was on Curtis and Friends show on the other radio show before I got my own show, there was a young lady on the show talking about beauty pageants, talking about they need to change the rules, so plus size people can be in beauty pageants. No, create your own beauty pageant. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have to change my rules to appease you. Create your own beauty pageant. You're not, a size 5, a size 2, or whatever the sizes are, but create your own lane, create your own thing. And so now, they were calling me insensitive because I said that. No, I'm not insensitive. I'm just being real. Create your own lane. That's just like with the, when we have the LGBTQ and, the people who are, transgender and swapping sides, you want to go into the restroom with me. No, I don't want you in the restroom with me. Have your own restroom. Create your own restroom. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you in there. Because I don't want you making me feel uncomfortable. Period, point blank, So, a lot can be unpacked in this. And, people, are quick to blame somebody else for their shortcomings and their downfalls because, you didn't make it. So now you feel traumatized. No, you had that trauma before you were there. You had low self-esteem before you went to Tyra and let her read you on the show. You know what I'm saying? That stuff was already there, Mark. And so they have to understand that, getting, critique constructively based off of your job. Because remember, being next top model, that was their job. they shouldn't have taken it personally, but they could have taken it personally, but not necessarily, because you were there in a working capacity. You wasn't there as a friend of Tyra's. So they have to understand the difference. That's just like with a lot of young people at my job. The administrators give them constructive feedback. They take it as a personal attack. No, it's because you're not doing your job. Look at your job description. Look at what goes on under your job description. It is not a personal attack on you personally. It is because you have not done what you have signed up for in your job description. So you have to understand the difference between the two. When you're getting constructive feedback on your job, that's different than when you're getting constructive feedback personally. So America's Next Top Model was their job. So yes, you got constructive feedback. You may not have liked the constructive feedback, but again, this is a job that you signed up for because they got some type of compensation for being on the show and things like that. That was your job. You were basically auditioning. So to come back and say that she traumatized you and this, that, and other, that's a bunch of hoopla. You know what I'm saying? But it's always one of them that want to come back and blame the white woman. I mean, white women want to blame the black woman for, you know, their shortcomings and their mediocrity and, you know, things like that or whatever. So can you roll a clip, please, Mark? And we can
let's check out what we're talking about. This is the clip that you are referring to, and I do have two clips, but this is the first part. Let's check this clip at this particular show.
In 2022, you had a stroke.
Yes.
And you are. I want to say ask you how are you doing now? You are a walking miracle here.
I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I was paralyzed, and then one day. I spent a year and 5 months in recovery. So I was inside the hospital. But then they came to visit me, as well as Angela Bassett, just drop names. And Alfred Witter, Niecy Nash, who called me yesterday, by the way. And then along with, you know, just George Lopez.
Yes.
So they all came to visit me. And but Tyra didn't.
Tyra has not. You know, okay. So Miss J, Tyra has not reached out to you.
No, she reached out to me.
She reached out to you
recently.
You better let Miss J talk.
Just saying.
She did. What did she? Can we ask what she said when she reached out to you?
Just hey, I'm in New York. I'm in LA. Okay. And?
You know, you've known Tyra. You helped Tyra. Wow, it's been.
But she reached out to me when it first happened.
Okay.
So, you know, she just.
Did she come to see you? So this is what I have to ask you. And I bring it back to that point again. You taught Tyra how to walk that runway. You've known her since she was 17 years old. Mm-hmm. There's got to, like you said, so many people reached out to you and you know, your visitors who came to see you.
I brought him his lemon cupcakes.
But again, just to play devil's advocate here for Tyra too. I mean, look. People are busy. She lives all over the world. She's living in Australia. Things happen. Even if you can't make it in person, which we did, and whatever, if you have a friend or someone you care about, you just go the extra mile, don't you? You do something.
Can I ask, how did you feel about that? Did it make you feel a certain kind of way with Tyra not coming to see you, knowing that you had that relationship with her?
Yes, it did. Did. I mean,
you know, I saw the pain in his eyes, to be honest with you. I mean, it broke our hearts, to be honest with you. It really did.
Hey, family, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or wherever you're watching this video.
Not to be fair enough and everything along those lines, because that's what I was going to say, is that some of us are have an aversion to hospitals. I know that I have a dear friend that had a stroke. I did not visit him when he was in the hospital. I talked to him about that and other things in the past, but I did not necessarily go to visit the hospital just because I have an aversion to hospitals. I did go visit Dad when he was in the rehab when after he had some heart problems and everything along those lines. So there are, and I don't know Tyra. I don't know Tyra at all. I don't know if Tyra could walk through this building. I mean, I know who she is as a celebrity, but I don't know her as an individual. So I don't know what her personal aversions are and everything like that. But I know that me personally, I sometimes find it difficult to go to hospitals and everything like that. That's just me.
But I mean, again, it's about the relationship too. Or I mean, how good of a friends are you with her? Yes, you did teach her how to walk at 17, but that was your job. You were paid to teach her how to walk. It's not like you volunteered your services. You did a job. You had a service to do. You know what I'm saying? So, my thing is, y'all out there trying to paint her as, this bad person or whatever. People have lives and, things like that. Just like, even I use myself as an example. I can't make everything. One of my cousins passed away a couple of years ago and I wasn't able to make it, because I already had things, going on. My first cousin was killed in Houston. I couldn't make it. You know what I'm saying? It's not that, my heart didn't go out to them. It's not that I didn't care. I just couldn't make it because I already had things in motion that I could not miss. And, things like that or whatever. And, again, we don't know the extent of their relationship.
And that's the point I was making. We don't know the extent of the relationship. We don't know the extent of her attitude towards sickness and hospitals and everything.
Right, exactly.
Using that whole attitude. That's why I was using that example of myself. And even to your point, there was an uncle that I was very close to. He wanted me to do a tape of music because he loved blues music just like I love it. And he wanted me to do a tape. I think it was of blues and jazz and everything else. I never did that tape for him. Maybe I'll do it in memory of him one of these days and everything like that. But if I'm remembering correctly, I missed his funeral because of some miscommunications between me and my younger brother. That was out of my control. So like I said, I was thinking I was going to meet Malik at one place. He was thinking I was going to meet him at another place, and we never met. So I didn't make it to that particular funeral because of miscommunication. It wasn't like I wasn't trying to make it, just as you were saying with your situation and everything. It's just that sometimes fate plays a role in what goes on as well. Like I said, I would have loved to have been at that particular service, but there was a miscommunication.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, sometimes life be happening and life be lifing and, stuff like that or whatever. And, people got to understand. And then they're trying to make it seem like, she's just this heartless person and she's not caring and things like that. But we don't know the extent of their relationship. Just because you work with a person, like I said, just because you work with a person and you're a colleague and they did something, they service you and things like that, does not constitute that you're friends outside of work. I mean, like I said, I don't know 85% of the people that's in my building. Honestly, I don't. Because some of the kids, they'll ask me, Dr. Anthony, do you know such and such? And I'm like, who? Who is that? Because we have over 200 plus adults inside of the building. I don't know 85 to 90% of those people. I have no idea who they are. If I don't engage with you and things like that, I don't know who you are. And like I said, those are colleagues. We are not friends. I do not consider them family. If we don't have a personal relationship, I just don't consider them, a part of my immediacy and a part of my important people and, things like that or whatever. So, I can understand where, Tyra's coming from and, certain, some people are like, you're heartless. No, I'm not heartless. It's just, I just don't deal with you in that capacity. And, for the people that I do talk to, outside of work, now, if something happened to them, I would be there for them. But as far as the other people, y'all can kick rocks. You know what I'm saying? Because what goes on in your personal life and your health and things like that, I couldn't care less. And that's just the way it is. So, they're trying to make her out to be this dang old monster that, oh my gosh, she's heartless, she's this, she's that, I'm traumatized because of the show. No, you already had trauma. You already had low self-esteem before you got on the show.
Well, we hear a little bit more from one of the other models as well, and we can say a little bit about this. So let's take this one.
Fans felt that Tyra did not take accountability. It's been a lot of backlash online and everywhere. What should Tyra do?
Well, wow, yeah.
Actually, she answered questions.
She should answer the questions that they ask her.
I mean, look, I'm not her publicist.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who her publicist is, but that being said, I think the reality is, and how we approached it, is just to be absolutely honest with it. And it's okay. It's okay to admit that you made a mistake. It's okay to say, I'm sorry. It's okay to go, it wasn't right. And I know that, and we all know that. None of us are perfect. We were trying. There were lots of mistakes. Some things perhaps were even forced errors, right? As in, what happened with Shandy, what happened with various contestants that shouldn't have happened.
I remember that day like it was yesterday watching the show. And Shandy, in the documentary, expressed her pain over a sexual encounter that was filmed. Now, Mr. J, did you ever feel like the show went too far?
Well, for me, that Shandy scene was just devastating. She was the girl that in my mind, I was ready for her to win.
Right.
You even see it in the doc. We're shooting in Verona, and she's winning.
She had it.
She's winning. She had it. I was in the production office when we got word of what was going down. I was devastated in the moment. And what I'd like everyone to just think about for a minute, because Shandy says this in her interview, she said, someone said, hey, how about the guys come over? Now, as someone who worked on that show, I can tell you the girls couldn't plan the next 5 minutes of their lives. They were following a directive. So who is the someone? That's the question. I'll leave it out there. I kind of know roughly, but the point is someone presented that. But
so Nigel, and being a father of two, did you ever feel like I didn't do enough to protect, or you tried to do as much as you could?
Well, I mean,
you didn't know about it.
I don't know. So that's the thing. Ultimately, as judges, we were actually kept quite sort of separate from what was happening. They wanted that on purpose, so that their everyday lives sort of played out outside of it, and then we would come to judging and we would just see their best photograph. We would kind of get, they would tell us about what they did. They did a photo shoot, they visited this, they did go-sees. We wouldn't know what happened behind closed doors, as you wouldn't in real life. If you go to a job interview, you don't tell everyone all your dirty laundry, right? You basically go in there and you try and get the job. That's what that moment was for, right? I watched the show like everybody else did and saw what happened to Shandy on TV the way the rest of the world did. I didn't know the behind the scenes, all the things, the fact that production allowed this, didn't allow that. And because there was no social media, it didn't get out to the world. However, watching that now, I don't care whether they signed away the rights of their life and to say that the cameras could follow them. As a responsible adult, as a decent human being, you clearly do not let two young people who have got drunk go to bed together and film it as if that was somehow okay. It was not.
So again, these people are adults. And my thing is, when it comes to them, they try to make it seem like they're still children and things like that or whatever. But the juvenile age ends at 21, but you technically are an adult at 18. So, my thing is, you have to be responsible and you have to be able to think and you have to be able to handle yourself and things like that or whatever. It was nobody there forcing that liquor down your throat. It was nobody there telling you to chug, 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 drink, 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 and, things like that. Now, do I feel sorry for her? Do my heart go out to her? Yeah. But at the same time, you're an adult. You know what I'm saying? You put yourself in an adult position. You need to be able to make adult decisions. And, my thing is with the implication of the other guy trying to insinuate that, that Tyra was ultimately responsible for all of this is just insane. She did her part. She played her role. She was the hostess. And like he said, they were the judges. So they were shielded away from a lot of things that were going on in production. That's just like The Bachelor. You know what I'm saying? They film every part of, The Bachelor and, everything that goes on under the sun. So you knew what you were getting into. You knew that you were going to be filmed. You knew what you were signing because, if you did not read the fine print and you did not read the paperwork, that's on you. That's not on Tyra. So you cannot blame her for something that you didn't do. And people tell you all the time, that's just like when we are taking those trainings and things. Even if you don't take the training and you don't understand what's going on in the training, once you sign for that makes you liable for what happens in those trainings, regardless if you understand and regardless if you know about it or not. So when you signed that paperwork, that made you liable for what was going to take place and what was going to happen. And I tell people in any situation, I don't drink when I'm around certain folks. I don't drink when I'm in certain capacities. I don't do any of that stuff. And people are like, oh, you're a stick in the mud, you're not having fun. I said, you're absolutely correct. I'm not. And I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing is, I'm in a brand new place or I'm in a brand new city. I need my brain focused. I need to be clear. I need to be able to, if something happens or something goes down, I need to be able to react and get the hell up out of Dodge because I am in a different place and I am in a different setting and things like that or whatever. So I don't do stuff like that. Not saying that, I'm faulting her or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're grown. You're an adult. And you have to have some, take some type of responsibility and accountability for yourself. It is not it is not all on Tyra. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't like the fact that they're trying to make her out to be so heartless and so cold and things like that. We are dealing with adults. Right. Bottom line, we're dealing with adults.
Yeah. And like I said, definitely, we don't know all the background of why she does what she does and all along those lines. And even to your point, it depends on the organization. Like I said, you're at a school which has got 250 fellow staff members. Now, I do know most of my coworkers here, but it's a smaller institution. I mean, even if I count the artists, then it's probably closer to 200. I don't know all of them and everything, but the immediate staff is probably like somewhere between 5 and 6 and everything like that. So it's a much smaller organization, but I don't necessarily know all my board members because that's when it gets to be a bigger size and everything like that. I probably should know them since they're the ones that are in charge to some degree and everything like that. But yeah, I got what you're saying about the size and even my apartment complex. I know some of my neighbors, and like I know one of the young ladies is a PT, physical therapy student. I know another one is studying the eyeglasses. What's that? Ophthalmology.
Mm-hmm.
So she's studying
ophthalmology.
Yeah, so she's studying in that field and everything. But like that Chinese family that's above me or kitty corner to me, I don't know what the heck they do for work or anything along those lines. And even some of the ones that I say hello to if I'm outside, I couldn't tell you what their jobs are and who they are. So I wouldn't say that they are friends. Now, there have been some people that have lived in the complex that have been friends. Like I remember there was a young couple that actually helped me get some paperwork together, and they were much younger than me. They were in their 20s, and I know he was into automobile field, and she was a college student and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But they were in the same age range. They were like both in their early 20s. But yeah, I would say that they were at least close acquaintances. I won't say they were necessarily friends, but they were at least close acquaintances that I could at least holler at. And even the young lady that is upstairs that has the dog, I would say that she's like a close acquaintance, and a couple of other ones that, so like I said, you don't know the relationships that people have, but a lot of times they're not as close as people think they are, particularly in the work environment. Because I've worked in corporate America in places where there were thousands of people. Because I worked at Glaxo, never when it was GlaxoSmithKline, but when it was Glaxo, and I think after one of the other initial mergers and everything like that. But that had thousands of people. I definitely did not know all those thousands of people. I might have a select few that I knew and everything like that, but I definitely didn't know the many thousands of people that were working at that big corporation.
And I mean, and it's so sad because the thing about it is, I'm not neighbor friendly. Mm-hmm. I don't talk to my neighbors. I'll speak to them if I see them outside or whatever, but I don't talk to my neighbors because I don't want you in my house, and I'm damn sure not coming to yours. So, and again, that goes back to everyone own personal choice and own personal, autonomy. Because I'm just not that person.
Like I said, and different people have different personalities. I mean, you sound much more like my dad in that sense. He doesn't have a lot of. I mean, he has his significant other, and he has a couple of select friends, but there's not a lot of times. As a matter of fact, a lot of times, Dad's at home by himself, pursuing his artwork and everything like that. So he is more of a solo person and everything like that. Now, I consider myself to be a introvert extrovert because there are times that I like to have my quiet time as well, but I don't mind stepping outside, and I will say hello or maybe wave at some people, but I'm not waving at everybody because there's some people I don't know and I don't want to know them and everything like that. So I consider myself to be more of an introvert extrovert because in this podcasting world, you have to have at least a little bit of extrovert personality and everything like that. So that's just me and how I consider myself. But yeah, there's times that I want my downtime as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, I just, I'm really not neighbor friendly like that. And I don't even really talk to my neighbors, honestly. I'm in a group chat with them, but for the most part, it's just about things that's, going on in the neighborhood and, stuff like that. I barely respond. I barely read the information that they put in there. So like I said, that's just not me.
It's
Um,
just like Dr. Anthony. That's just not you, and I'm not saying that I'm running
yeah.
in. I'm not. I'm not. Except for that one couple that I talked about, I've never been in any of my neighbors' apartments, and I think there were a couple of people that were in crunch situations in their life that I let them come into mine and everything like
Mhm.
that. So it meaning that they were in a bad situation and they needed a place to crash and everything like that. So I've done that 3 times in the times that I've been there, and I've been there for like 8 or 9 years. But after they left, I did not like go there and everything. And I understand what you're saying. I've got good friends of mine that I consider good friends, but I've never been to their house and everything like that. We are friendly when we're out and about, and I consider them some of my best friends. But even the one you've heard me talk about, Ray, I've yet to go to his house, and Brett is one of my best friends, and I've never been to. I think I might have been to his house when his mom was sick and everything like that, but I was never really been in there and one time at a party, but it's not like I've been there a lot of times. So people have different ways of showing their friendships as well, and it doesn't always mean that you have to be physically with them and everything. I was going to mention, because you mentioned it earlier, those neighborhood chats can be very effective, because I do like the
Mhm.
fact that the apartment complex that I'm at, they send a notice about things. I mean, there might be community activities like during Halloween, they send a Halloween party that they were having. I mean, a Halloween Christmas, a Christmas party that they were having,
Mhm.
and things like that. So that was fun, and I did go down there and get some hot chocolates and some snacks and all along those lines, because there was no real meal or anything like that. But at the same time, they send out like newsletters to inform you of things that you want to be knowing
Mhm.
for your safety. Like I said, if I got one earlier today where somebody had been robbed near me. So I mean, on one hand, it's good to know. On the other hand, it can be scary to know that somebody 0.5 miles from you was involved in a robbery and everything like that. But it lets you know that they're at least trying to be aware, to keep you aware, so that you can be safe. So those I don't mind in those kind of newsletter chats.
Yeah, I mean, in that capacity, yes, but just as far as me just being over there, just shooting the breeze and just blase blase, just talking and things like that. That is definitely not me,
No,
and
and I
that is
would,
definitely not gonna happen.
no,
Um,
and I would agree with you on that, because that's not me. I've never been in any of their houses. I'm just saying that, and that's where we're different. Like you said, you're not even waving at them. I may wave at them and everything, but I'm not trying to go into their house, and I'm not trying to have them go into mine either, or my apartment.
mhm. Oh, I'm definitely not gonna do that. Because like I said, we're definitely not cool like that. And most of these people, they have pets,
Hmm.
and I am not going to I'm
Yeah,
not
you
going
got,
to go in your house, and you're not going to bring your pet in mine
yeah,
because
you got.
I don't have a pet.
You
So
don't have a pet, and as I recall, you have some issues around, and I know others that have pet allergies. I don't have a pet right now and haven't had a pet in a while, but I know that some people are, pets don't do well by them, by whether it's fur or what.
no,
And I knew that from you, that you're not a pet person. Now we might wind up at some point, and I'm just saying this to teach you. Don't take this seriously. We may wind up getting you a lizard or a bird, since they don't have fur. And I think it's a bird.
listen.
I think
I'm
it's a
just,
bird that you're allergic
I
to.
am not home long enough to have a pet.
Oh, I
I
know
actually
that.
um, I actually had a pet bird when I was in college in Louisiana. I had two, and they ended up dying. And I actually had a funeral for my pet and things like that. It was so funny. We actually had a funeral for my pet birds and stuff like that or whatever. But yeah, that's just definitely not something that I'm going to
No,
engage in and stuff like that or whatever. But um I may get a fish. I was thinking about getting an aquarium, but my only thing is with the aquarium, who's gonna clean it out? I would actually have to pay someone to, like clean the thing out. And if I get one of those really large ones, and then there's if you want freshwater fish, if you want saltwater fish, and so I'm contemplating, but I am definitely not looking forward to like doing anything like that or whatever in
does sound
terms of
like, yeah, it does
in
sound like
terms
it's
of
gonna be anytime. Does sound like it's gonna be anytime soon. And you're right, the upkeep
no.
is no joke and everything like that. Because I did have a series of geckos. I think it was 3 of them if I remember correctly, and everything like that. But they were in a terrarium, similar to an aquarium, and yeah, the upkeep was no joke, and they eventually died and everything like that. So I have not. Well, I think I had maybe a cat or dog since the geckos and everything like that. But I've not had a pet in a long time and everything like that. I will just tell you about the birds. You got to be careful with the birds when you have a podcast, because I did have a friend of mine that had a podcast, and they well, they didn't have a podcast, but they appeared on my podcast a couple of times. And birds are like a lot of other animals. They will still, they're like children. They will steal the spotlight. Because I remember this one young lady, I think she moved back to Seattle, and she had a macaw. And I think the macaw might have appeared on 2 or 3 shows. And that macaw liked to, if they saw that the camera was on, they like to try to get on camera as well. So the birds are they're like any other creature. They want to have their moment in the spotlight too. So
I am not about to battle no bird. So you know that right there, Mark, is not going to be something that is in my repertoire. I can tell you that much.
They're gonna have the bird steal the spotlight.
I'm definitely not gonna have the bird steal the spotlight. Honestly, I don't even know if I want a bird.
I know.
I'm just contemplating, because people were like, get a pet, do this, but I already know for my sake that that's probably not gonna happen.
Cool. Well, we've had an interesting conversation. We can wrap this one up as well.
Yes.
I think we got one more to go. That'll be dealing with Jasmine Crockett, and I do have a couple of videos about her, including her own thoughts about running for Senate and everything like that. But right now, let's get on out of here, and also her thoughts around her role with the Epstein case that you mentioned earlier. But right now, let's get on out of here, and then we'll do the third and final.
Get on out of here. So you know what it is. The clock on the wall says that's all. Make sure y'all click like and follow. Follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I am under Beauty and Brains, and I will see you guys next time. This clock on the wall says that's all. Deuces, my loves. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.